Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. It is the day after the NFL trade deadline has come and gone, Adam, and it's kind of funny. We've actually already discussed all the moves the Eagles have made, bringing in Jaelan Phillips, bringing in Jaire Alexander, bringing in Michael Carter II, because Howie Roseman got ahead of the market. And
yeah, it's true.
I have even a different opinion, I guess, now of the Eagles' moves after all the craziness of Tuesday. Sometimes you're happy, right, as a fan when your GM is aggressive and makes that killer move. But sometimes you're also happy when your GM isn't too aggressive and just bankrolls everything to go for it. Like a couple of teams I felt
Ballard,
were, like maybe the Colts or maybe the Cowboys. But I think that the Eagles, a friend of mine texted me and said, man, they've kind of made underwhelming moves. And I said, maybe it just called for that. They clearly got better and deeper with their moves, and we'll see. But what a wild Tuesday deadline. I don't remember anything like it.
It was, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to, there's a personnel guy that you and I know very well. And he was who I thought of, because he gave me kind of an idea what his team was thinking. They wound up not making a trade on Tuesday. There were 8 trades, by the way, on Tuesday. But I said, hey, did you see what Philly did? What your thoughts? He goes, he thought Howie did very well. He said, he didn't like the Alexander move, but he understood why they did it, because he knew the Eagles weren't very good opposite Mitchell. But he loved the Jaelan Phillips move. He said, he goes, and he knows for a fact that Phillips is on his way back pretty well. Like, he's not quite what he was before the injury. He knows he's doing well. He goes, you get a guy who's got a first-round pedigree, who's close to what he was before 2 massive injuries, and you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you give up a third-round pick. Yes, it's a third round. That's a starter round, by the way. It's the last of the true starter rounds.
Right.
But you know what? You go for it. It was good to get a point of view from someone who works in the business, because that's what we do here. We don't do recaps. We go inside. And I just wanted to get an idea of what personnel people thought of the Eagle stuff. Everybody likes Michael Carter. They understand. Saleh got fired last year, which we should have mentioned in the last show. Like, there were some issues going on, and there was just bad coaching last year. It was a nightmare. But Carter lost his job this year; got replaced.
Yes.
So we have to point that out. Like, he may not be the guy that he once was.
Right.
But we'll get into that, and we'll give you some more intel on how he confirmed our reporting last week of mentioned the safety position on Tuesday. Good press conference. Pretty funny, by the way.
Yeah, very, very funny. Howie, you could tell Howie was in a good mood in that press conference.
So, he wasn't uptight because he already made all his moves, as you said.
Right. He was sitting back watching some teams just completely light themselves on fire just to get a good player.
I got to tell you, I know you said it first to me through text, but I always want to know what personnel people say. I got to tell you, no one liked that trade for the Colts. They understood why they did it. And one guy told me, he goes, listen, not only did they overpay, he goes, you realize that they're now locked into Chandler Jones. I'm like,
that's exactly why.
I said, because they don't have 2 1s the next 2 years. He goes, they've mortgaged their future.
Right.
Now here's the funny thing. They're not good opposite Sauce Gardner, because they missed on. This is what happens, guys. When you miss on a first or second round pick that you expect to start, this has a trickle-down effect. They missed on Juju Brents, who they cut after 2 years. They had no one. Kenny Moore's great, but he's their nickel. He's not a corner. He's a nickel. So if they didn't make a trade for a corner, and there weren't a lot of trades for true corners, right, through this trade deadline, and the word around the league was the cost. It was cost prohibitive. Well, look at the Sauce Gardner trade, right? If you wanted a premier corner, you're going to pay out the ass. And it's just so funny. Chris Ballard is the most conservative GM.
That's why I was shocked when I saw the team.
I was like, and I started texting him. I'd say, dude, wow. He probably would have yelled at me or something, but no. But look, he's going for it. I know some people are not happy with him, but you know what? If you win a Super Bowl, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Well, they're going to make the playoffs barring something bad happening, like Daniel Jones getting hurt. But he's going for it. Remember, I've called Chris Ballard he's like the Jeff Fisher of GMs. He's like around 500. That's basically what they've been.
Right.
Very mediocre. I mean, let's call it like it is.
Right.
But he went for it. I give Chris, he went for it with Anthony Richardson, rolled snake eyes.
Yep.
And now he's got Daniel Jones, who's up until last week did a good job.
Yep.
And we'll see. But it
Well,
was
yeah,
wild,
I could
man.
be wrong. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but I feel like they're going to regret it in the end. Same thing with the
Okay.
Cowboys.
Sure. Oh, we'll get to that in a minute.
Because I think if, just like you just said, I think if you're going to trade multiple first round picks, you need to satisfy two criteria. One, you need to be really thinking that you are a good team for not just this year, but for many years. And usually that means you have a franchise, no doubt about it, uplift all franchise quarterback. And I can't say after 8 weeks, no, I know how well he's played, but I still can't say Daniel Jones is that guy. And then two, I still don't make that move unless I'm getting, and I know how good Sauce Gardner was the first 2 years of his career, but that's, to me, I'm not doing it unless I'm getting a Myles Garrett pass rusher or a left tackle like Trent Williams. I just, man, again, I only do it for a corner if I was so awesome in every other spot that I was good.
Right, on your point. So the late Gil Brandt told me many years ago when I got to know Gil in the early 2000s.
Great guy. Love Gil.
We were sitting in his hotel room, and he was great. He's like, you could ask me anything you want. I said, how the hell? Because he was the father of modern day scouting. They were the late 60s. They were the first to use IBM computers to help them, which is crazy. But I said, how did you put together your draft board? He goes, well, we had a value board by position. I'm like, oh, wow, really? Could you explain it to him? And he said, it's quarterback, left offensive tackle, obviously for right-handed quarterback, for the blind side. Cornerback was third. And it's funny because when I remembered that, I remember what this guy said to me. He goes, you don't trade 2 future first-round picks for a non-quarterback or non-left. No, he said quarterback, left tackle,
right,
or edge rusher.
Edge rusher, right.
I think, right. And I think Gil said it was he had cornerback 4. It was quarterback, it was left tackle, it was right defensive end who would go against the left tackle, then corner. That's it. That corner was 4.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with you, man. It's a lot. And by the way, they also had to throw in AD Mitchell.
I know, a top 50.
I know it's been a
they gave up 2 first-round picks and a top 55 pick. I mean, my gosh, that's crazy.
That's bad. That's look. I hope. Look, and I hope for Colts fans. I hope Sauce has not played to the level that he played in years past. So obviously very good, one of the best in the league. I hope he plays great, and I hope Daniel Jones just rebounds and plays well. But they're no sure thing. I mean, they're great at safety. Nick Cross is having a breakout season. Really good football player. Good D line. Offensive line's been decent. Tyler Warren's running for rookie of the year. He's had a great rookie season. Jonathan Taylor's back. My God, is he back?
Yeah. They've got a lot of pieces in place.
Yes,
but I guarantee you this, right? You ask, if you polled 20 NFL GMs, who do they think is going to be in the AFC Championship game right now? 15, 16, 17 are going to tell you either the Bills, the Chiefs, or another team before they get to the call. I think that they would.
By the way, looking at the books at MGM, I saw on Tuesday. How the hell are the Chiefs still plus? They have the shortest odds, plus 550. They're still the favorite. They're 5-4. How are they 5? What?
Membership has its privileges.
Overrated national teams. What's that?
I said membership has its privileges.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I'm not a fan of any team. I don't care, but I just think it's absurd. Like
it is.
I guess it's like, hey, okay, you think so? We call it like we see it. We call it down the line. The Eagles right now is just as good of chances. If Jaelan Phillips is a pretty good player, I understand opposite Quinion, it's still a problem. A lot of mystery. This is a good team here. Eagles. They've overcome a lot of craziness in the first 8 games.
Yeah.
They have just got a chance of, if not better than anyone, to win the Super Bowl.
Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. And if you have a family and kids at home like me, you always want them to be fully protected. That's why I'm thrilled to be a Simply Safe customer. And our house is equipped with the most technologically advanced alarm system you can get. If you could actually stop someone from breaking into your home before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Traditional security systems only react after a break-in, but Simply Safe is different because it stops crimes before they happen with Active Guard outdoor protection. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're still outside your home, and they alert real security agents. These agents take action while the intruder is still outside and confront the intruder to let them know they're being watched on camera and police is on the way. And that's how you stop a crime before It's committed. There's no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel anytime, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. Do not miss out on SimpliSafe's biggest sale of the year, 60% off. Our listeners get 60% off a SimpliSafe home security system at simplisafe.com/bird. That's simplisafe.com/bird. So let's do this. I agree with that. Let's talk. We've actually got more intel on some of the guys that we haven't yet reported. A lot more intel on the guys that the Eagles have brought in. We'll go through that, go through a few transactions too that happened that are equally significant. And then at the end, just really quick, we'll take a look at some of the other trade deadline moves that we either thought were weird or good, and we'll call it a day on that. So before we do that, I just want to call attention to one of our great interns, Nick Palmisano. I've mentioned him before, but he's doing an excellent job, not with two things. One, he makes great social media clips for us. If you see our Instagram, our TikTok, our YouTube shorts, he's one of our two interns that are making great clips. But secondly, he's been designing new overlays and graphics for Inside the Birds, including the one people are seeing right now if they're watching on YouTube. And we got great feedback on it. So what I wanted to do is let people know. I mean, Nicky's is interning for us, but he can certainly do the set. We have a lot of content creators I know and podcasters that listen to Inside the Birds, or small business owners who are also looking to enhance their own business and their product with artwork or graphic design. So Nick Palmisano is his name. I'm going to put his information on the screen right now for everybody to see. Cool. So you can reach out to him. He's cool with it. And if you're looking to, have him do for you or your business what he's doing for us, we couldn't recommend anybody better. He's done a great job. So again, Nick Palmisano, and we thank Nick for doing an excellent job.
Great job, man. It's incredible. The responses, I was like, because you showed it to me, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But our listeners and viewers love it. So thanks.
Absolutely. All right. So let's do the transactions really quickly. They're pretty important for the Eagles. They opened up the 21-day practice window for Nolan Smith. That's a pretty good sign. It means at very least he could be available to play against the Packers Monday night. We'll have to see how he does in practice this week. Obviously, to a corresponding move, they released Patrick Johnson. I was a little surprised by that, just because he's a really good special teamer. But Adam, we did say with the addition of Jaelan Phillips, with Brandon Graham, with whose exemption is over, and with Nolan Smith, they'd have to give somewhere. And so obviously Patrick Johnson will go. He's off the 53, and they released Terrace Marshall from the practice squad. You kind of wonder if that's to make room to get Patrick Johnson back on there. Because I think Patrick still has elevations, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't have that in front of me, but also after the trade deadline, any player that's released, even if the guy's a 15-year veteran, he goes through waivers. It's just the way the rule is now. Because these were done before the trade deadline. They were done before Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when they went through. He's actually not subject to waivers. So he literally, but the Eagles are good about, like, when they get a practice squad deal done, like, seem to announce it very quickly. So they could announce it later today. Right. But you're right. His contract was terminated. That I'm sure they'll bring him. But he did a good job. Patrick Johnson was kind of surprising me. I know he's kind of like you've said before. He's Mr. Training Camp, and then he winds up not doing much. Did a good job.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, they have so many bodies.
They don't need him. No, hell no.
Yeah, they don't. And then also, I know Andrew DeCecco was very excited when this came out, but Danny Gray is back with the Eagles, right? Onto the practice squad. Now, he was interesting because of all the speed that he has, and he was one of those guys we talked about in the offseason. Fastest receiver on the team, has a chance, but his thing is he can't stay healthy, and he suffered an injury at camp, and very early in camp, right? He was pretty much a non-factor right away.
Yeah, I asked Andrew. It was a finger injury, I think he said it was.
Yes.
We Andrew and I hosted for WBCB, our Pro Football Report show. We hosted it at Chicky and Pizza on Roosevelt Boulevard, and we had Gary Cobb, by the way, number 50.
Cobb.
Yeah, G Cobb. 2 R's, by the way. Gary. By the way, do you know that he was a big-time baseball player? He was drafted?
Yes. Yeah, I did know that. He told me about it. He's also from Connecticut. I know you.
Yeah, Stanford. Right. He was born, I think his family was from North Carolina. Yeah, he said North Carolina, and he moved to Stanford, Connecticut. And I think 4 of his siblings went to Ivy League schools, and I guess his dad wanted him to go to Ivy League, but he chose USC, and
Mm-hmm.
he was recruited to play baseball and football, and he played. If you really follow college football, Charles White, who was an all-time great running back at USC, and we actually went for the Anthony Munoz. He played with a Hall of Famer, the left tackle for the Bengals, right?
Yeah, well, listen, there's another weird fact, not to get too off the rails about Cobb, but Stamford, Connecticut, which is not the biggest town in the world. You've probably been there. Been through it at least. It's home
WWE.
to
Good.
WWE, NBC, Universal Studios, also now Sports, NBC Sports, Universal, but also some really good athletes. Steve Young is from Stanford.
He's actually he went to Greenwich
maybe
High.
right outside.
No, you know how I know? My wife went to high school with him.
Oh yeah, really? Was Greenwich?
Yeah, she's a little younger than and Trey Wingo. My wife was at Greenwich High. The same. Trey's a little bit older, but yeah, Greenwich High.
Bobby Valentine, the baseball.
Yes, he did. That's right. That one I know. Yeah.
There's another one. I think Bill Romanowski is either from Stanford or like a neighboring town.
Romo.
But yeah, Romo. Yeah, and then right next to Stanford is a town called Norwalk border, right? Mo Vaughn and Calvin Murphy, NBA Hall of Famer.
Calvin Murphy, Cookie Calvin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like this little pocket of Connecticut, Southwest Connecticut, that's giving us some good athletes.
Very nice. Very nice. But
yeah,
anyway, so Danny Gray is back. He could run. He could. Yeah. Well, look, it's not like he's gonna. The Eagles are not a heavy 11 personnel team anyway. It's not like he may never be on the active roster, but he's a guy. You know what? If he could just stay healthy, he could actually help the team someday. So Pettit was released. You know, the one thing though, thing that would concern me, and you hope it never comes to pass, is they really have lacked depth in terms of developmental players on the practice squad for linemen.
Yeah.
Hinton's on IR, the 6-rounder. So if you look at it right now, if you look at the practice squad, they got the international player, Holland Pierce, who's long ways away from contributing. He got cross-trained at left tackle and guard. The kid Jake Majors, who's a street free agent, is a center. He's non-factor. So they don't really have the guy like they know is in the pipeline if they wanted to call on him. So what it means is they still need to take a look at finding a backup center guard to put on the practice squad. Now, I get it. Toth shocked the world. He looked great. And we'll learn more about Cam Jurgens starting Thursday's practice, but still would like to see a developmental interior lineman on the practice squad, or at least a veteran, in case something happens where Toth reverts back to where he was, or Jurgens can't play for a bit. You want to cover every base when you know you're a pretty good football team.
Yes. I mean, the Eagles had one all last year, right? Or they never played him, or maybe I forget. He was on IR. It was LaRaven Clark. Remember they had him for those reasons?
He was actually on IR. Yeah. He never played. Right. Yeah, he went on IR. And if you remember, he went on IR, I think, in May of last year. You
know what? One day when I get back to really, really in-depth writing again, I would love to write a story about injuries suffered at practice and how debilitating it is. And look at Travis Hunter, right? He's on IR. He suffered an injury in practice for the Jaguars. So he's going to be out a couple weeks. And I remember when Nnamdi really hurt his knee at a time where the Eagles needed him that
I was
year
there.
In
he
practice.
Hyperextended it in practice. Yep. Because the problem is when you see it, when it's a knee injury, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And they got very lucky. I know he wound up not playing well. I get that, but it wound up only being a hyperextension. Did he play the next week?
He did. He did play. He didn't play very well, but he wasn't playing well to begin with. But I swear, there's probably nothing that more bothers a coach, right? When a player gets hurt in practice, because you're not supposed to have contact. It's incidental. Like I remember being at a practice once where Kerry Williams tackled Riley Cooper to the ground, and they almost got into a fight because of it. And the whole thing was, you're not supposed to be doing that at practice.
Can't tackle.
Yeah. Well, and it was an accident. So you know how Kerry was. He got a little carried away, no pun intended, and brought him down. But people get really mad and upset. But when you lose a player, a starter,
it's bad.
You know, like someone like Travis Hunter, because of a practice injury, that's just gotta suck.
The Charles Bentley, should have been an Eagles. But when the Charles Bentley got hurt with Cleveland, was that in a OTA practice, first OTA practice?
Yeah, I think it was because training camp practice is different. There's
Yeah,
contact that's allowed.
exactly,
You're right.
right.
OTAs, you're right.
It
I
was
think that was.
so
Yeah.
sad,
Yeah.
so sad.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
this is your big free agent signing, and it's the Browns curse, man, because that's what the fans would bring up. They're so cursed, you know. But
Yeah.
getting back to reality. So yes, Suapeta, he may come back. The good thing, look, Nolan Smith, look, he could if they think he looks good in practice. Remember now, though, he had the tricep surgery. Then he strained it. He's a tricep strain.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to be right. Now the question, and we're going to get into this. This is the purpose of the show. Is we haven't really talked about any of this stuff. What's it going to look like going forward from a conceptual standpoint? Rotations. We know Vic doesn't like rotating a lot of guys. They have a lot of guys now at edge because Nolan got hurt, and Jalen Hunt's coming on here, and they just traded for Jaelan Phillips. So did he get his job back, starting job back? That is, that's a question.
Right. All right. So let's talk about these guys and some of the new intel that we have. It's a good deal. You know, I purposely asked around some people in the league about Jaelan Phillips, specifically how his skill set might compare to what the Eagles already have. And one guy I spoke to who was very knowledgeable on Jaelan Phillips said, and also knowledgeable about what the Eagles have, Adam, made it a point to say, and this is something we actually talked about a couple of weeks ago when Zadarius Smith retired, that he gives them a lot more bulk and length at the edge and weight. He's a 265 guy. I mean, that's big for what the Eagles have on the edge. And he told me he felt Jaelan was a way better point of attack type player than Jelix Hunt, who's still learning, and Nolan Smith. Smith is a good point of attack player. You've seen him take on pulling guards. I mean, he gets his body going, but he's a light point of attack player, whereas Jaelan Phillips is a bigger, stronger guy. So he helps them not only with the pass rush, but we talked about their lightness on the edges, and that's not as much of an issue now without Zadarius Smith, but with Jaelan Phillips.
Yeah, because he's just under 6'5" Phillips, but he's over 260.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big dude. As I was saying in the Inside the Tape show, the bonus show that we did with Greg, three of us, you know, I said, look, he's if you said the prototype, give me if you said chisel a guy, a 34 edge,
right?
What you want him to look like, because you could play him down in the box, you could stand him up, you could play him inside nickel, which he's done, or play him in hand in the dirt. It's this dude. And it's such a shame. I mean, think about he didn't miss a game in his first 2 years. He looked like he was going to be that guy. 2 major injuries, but he looks healthy based on what we've told. And Greg talked about it, but we heard it separately from people. Looks pretty good. Right. Not quite where he was, obviously. He's getting there. And so here's the question. Okay, because Uche did a good job. Actually, Howie's free agent signings weren't great this year, but this guy has looked good. You know, we questions. He still can play. BG is on the roster now. He got reinstated off the exemption. They got a lot of guys here. But here's the thing with Jelix Hunt. You don't want to stunt his progress.
Right.
Look, Nolan Smith does not deserve, you just don't pencil him in over Phillips or Hunt. He got hurt. He's been out a while.
Well, I think the whole idea is Phillips has been hurt a lot, right? Hunt's been,
but he's healthy.
Right, he's healthy. Hunt,
and they traded for him.
You can do a nice job of rotating guys in to keep them fresh here.
Yes.
No one of these three guys is making like $30 million a year where you feel the pressure to have to play them all. So you can, and Vic doesn't give a crap about that anyway.
I know, but he doesn't do what Schwartzy did. Is Schwartzy loved it. He loved to rotate 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, you're right. Vic is more about 3 guys. That's true.
Which surprised me. But most coaches don't see it like Vic. Of course, Vic is brilliant. We're not criticizing him. We're just questioning. As you said, you got Phillips, you got Hunt. Smith's going to be back soon unless he has a setback. BG, they got to see yet. Yes, he's
okay, right.
They got a lot of guys. This is a great thing.
It's a good thing.
To me,
but I'm with you. It's interesting to see how he's going to figure out that snap share there.
He hasn't had this problem, but it's a good problem to have. But now, of course, practice tells you everything. How do they look? Yes, Phillips knows the system. He played in it, but that was 2 years ago. They got to just see, because they know what the tape looked like from Miami, but he's got to get himself back into the Vic system. He played it for a shortened season. You're certainly not going to see Campbell at all on the edge. That's over. Any possibility of it is done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fascinating to see what happens. I understand, we were right because that was the case until a week ago, or last game. Hunt clearly was not ready. It seemed like the Eagles jumped a step with Hunt. We didn't see it in training camp. We didn't see it for the first 5 or 6 games as an edge rusher, but he looked so much better in that last game. We were like, whoa, okay, let's go, keep it going. And now you got Smith coming back, who's on the other side, and you got Phillips. Now it's and then you got BG. Sorry, you got BG here. Not that he would play a lot anyway,
Right.
but this is a big talk between Vic and Howie. How about Howie?
I laughed
made
when
me laugh.
He let off. He said, "Oh wow, I had a good conversation with Vic. How about that?" Or Coach Fangio.
Well, what he talked about is what did Vic say? Minimal.
Vic said he had a minuscule impact, and Howie was like,
right,
well.
and because look, Vic is prickly. Vic talked about, I don't know, the first couple of months he got here about he's had issues with front offices because he speaks his mind.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
I mean, look, they have a healthy respect. Howie and Vic were they got pretty tight.
Yeah.
When Vic would visit the team, before he came here, when he was just, he was fired and he was, he lives in the area, so he'd stop by.
Right.
But and then remember the oddness of when we saw him in Miami. Where did we see him in Miami 2 years ago?
Yeah. Yes.
He just showed up. Like, what's that about?
Well, that's so weird because then he wound up the next year being the Dolphins defensive
in Miami.
At that time, he was still kind of like helping out the Eagles. It was just funny.
So Geoff and I are at the joint practices, and we're standing. It's godly. It's so big, so humid, so hot, and we're like, "What is VicFangio walking by me from?" Like, why is he here?
Right.
Like, what sense? I don't know. I mean, we're thinking like he has like a beach house in Miami. Like, no, he doesn't. He's just friends with the Eagles. So like, it's okay. He's allowed to do that. But I just thought it was odd. And then, as you said, when I'm working for the Eagles, it's funny how things work out.
It was very funny. All right. So that the last thing on Phillips is that in Miami, he did play quite a bit inside. They would bring Chop Robinson outside and Chubb outside. But I we haven't seen Vic do that a whole lot of that with edges. Now he might be used more in the twist and stunt game, which the Eagles are starting to incorporate a little bit more. But we'll have to see. I mean, it is another way to get all those ends that we were talking about on the field, but you don't really need to take Ajomo off the field or Jalen Carter off the field because they're good players. So it's just something that is at Vic's disposal if he wants to use a package that nobody has seen yet before.
Sure. It's funny because I remember we were saying last week, this is before all the fireworks, this is before, we knew BG, but again, he's still going to be limited in terms of how many snaps he gets, but we didn't know about Phillips. We knew they were going to get an edge. We just didn't know who was going to be yet. So they got Phillips. Nolan Smith now is coming back soon, barring a setback. And you don't have to move. You can do it, but you don't have to move anyone to the outside from the interior because now they have so many guys. Now, to finish this part off, they gave up a third for Phillips. Again, that is a starter round. That's the last starter round of draft. Like, first round is a high-end starter. Second round is an above-average starter. Third round is a lower tier starter. Fourth round is a high end backup, very low, like below average starter, right? But that's a starter round they give. They give up a third. I get it. It could be the 32nd pick. Doesn't matter. It's a third round, right? So he's got to start. Like, that's just the way I see it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the question is, that is Nolan Smith's side, assuming it is.
Good point.
That's what you got to talk about. Like, that's the discussion between Howie and Vic and Jeremiah Washburn, the edge rusher coach. Like, and Vic coached him 2 years ago, so he knows what to expect.
Plus, even if you wanted to move Smith over the other side and then just bring Hunt off the bench, that is the side that would expose the triceps more. Weren't they keeping him over left to keep the right triceps on the outside? Right. And so if you put him on over right tackle and his right triceps on the inside, then that's his punch hand, and then you risk react more contact to it. So that's just something to add to the conversation where they want.
Plus, and again, Phillips can play inside and nickel.
That's very valuable. The BG role, obviously, we've seen him do it in the past very, very well.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is, if everybody's healthy and looking right, teams would die to have this kind of depth at edge, and it could be pretty good. We're not there yet because they got to show it first. But the two things we talked about in their June camp is like, boy, they're just not good enough at edge. It's very clear, and that turned out to be right.
100%.
It just
100%.
But Howie acknowledged it. He talked BG out of retirement. He traded for Jaelan Phillips. There's your answer.
Hey, I still like a good night out, but I'm not always in the mood to drink, and that's why I looked for a great alternative, and I found one. It's called Soul's Out of Office Gummies. You get the same light, happy buzz, but you don't have the hangover. There's no sugar, and you don't get that awkward feeling the next morning. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or the next day fog. Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance your creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe. From a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. They've also got a variety of products specifically designed to help you get a better night's rest, including Soul's top selling sleep gummy, a fan favorite for deep restorative sleep. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. Right now, Soul is offering our audience 30% off your entire order. So go to getsoul.com and use the code BIRDS, BIRDS. That's getsoul.com, promo code BIRDS for 30% off.
Let's move on to the two defensive backs, obviously,
Yeah.
Michael Carter II and Jaire Alexander. Man, Cosell, for anybody who've heard either him doing Inside the Tape or even our Patreon members who had a great Q&A session with him on Tuesday on Ask Greg Cosell, he's much more, I guess, bought into the idea that Jaire Alexander can be a starter for the Eagles and really help them than I am. I mean, I can't get past the whole idea that on a very bad Ravens defense, he wasn't playing because they didn't want to play him. And it wasn't because he was on the injury report the last few weeks either, right? And I think he was healthy. He could have played.
He was healthy. No, they
right. Yeah.
They were down 3 players and wouldn't play him. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not making this up. This is a fact. So,
yeah.
Now,
I mean, I get what Greg is saying, right? His talent at one point would make him
elite.
easily,
elite.
But that's not who they have. So
well, we don't know what he is.
The
Eagles see they obviously maybe Christian Parker, he didn't coach him. He was a defensive quality control
right.
with Green Bay, but he knows him. Maybe maybe he's friends with him. Maybe he stayed in touch with him. Maybe he knew he just needed to get out of Baltimore. They didn't like it. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I just can't believe Howard would make a trade for a guy who was benched because he couldn't play.
Yeah.
And not know that maybe his knee's better. Who knows? He had to have some intel.
Right. Well, he did say he mentioned, and I kind of not circled it, but I put in my mind, he and DaCosta from the Ravens have a good relationship. It goes back to the fact that he had a great relationship with Ozzie Newsome. Their houses are like next to each other.
Mentors, by the way.
Yeah, they have houses right next to each other in Florida on the Panhandle. So, in fact, I think Howie has said that the Tim Jernigan trade got executed while both of them were basically on the beach in the.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
He's always had a good relationship with the Ravens, and he said he had good, honest conversations with the Ravens. So. I'm not saying that the Ravens spoke glowingly, because if the Ravens spoke glowingly of Alexander, they'd be playing him right now. But there was something said like this guy needs like 5 more weeks of conditioning. I don't know. And so again, I don't even consider it a trade because they didn't give up anything. They got a pick and gave up a pick, right? I mean, we're talking about maybe like 10 slots in the draft. I have no idea what it's going to wind up being. It was like a nothing. So they're just throwing a dart, but I always thought that at any move you're going to make at this point should be specifically designed to make your team better, not hope to make your team better. So, because Howie Roseman always says hope's not a strategy, but
I love that one. Yes,
but this is Greg thinks that there might be something there.
Well, here's, and we grilled him, Greg, when we did the Inside the Tape show, the bonus show. He said it, like, man or zone, it didn't matter. He was great whenever they asked him to play man or zone.
Yeah.
He was elite. He's just under 5'10". But then you've got the maturity issue, the strangeness thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen this in 27 years to cover this business. The guy does something you're not supposed to. He decides he's going to be team captain without telling the team. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, and Matt LaFleur was so mad. He just didn't know what to say when it happened. I remember watching his post-game press conferences. He was incredulous. He's just, this can't happen, and he's we're going to deal with it tomorrow. Whatever. And he got the game. But anyway,
Howie didn't hide the fact that it was a dart throw. By the way,
well, he said it twice. He said it. Versus Ward. He said good for him. He didn't avoid it. It wasn't like how it was his first 2010 when he was first year as a GM. He didn't avoid it. He knows they're throwing a dart.
Cockamamie excuse.
I'll say this. Let's put it this way. Let's say he's healthy, right? Because there was something wrong with him physically with the Ravens. They wouldn't play him.
Yeah.
But let's say he's healthy. They're going to know in practice.
Yep.
Do you I know this is subjective, but if he's just average, he may be better than what they have. Opposite Mitchell.
I'm still of the mindset that they brought Jacorian Bennett in for a reason, and he had great speed and quickness and played decent level, and as long as he's healthy, it's not like he had lower leg injury, like knee and ankle injury, something that would make you maybe.
Now it's pectoral. You're right. He had a pectoral.
Yeah, a pectoral injury, which that happens. You can come back from that and be fine.
Pec strain, you got to get it right. But go ahead.
Right. No, the thing you'd worry about is re-aggravation of those, like the shoulder. But as far as athleticism, he should be fine. So I would like to think that he gets some kind of look here unless they've just already seen enough. I don't know. It's
they'll get him into practice, but here's the problem: he never got the defense
right.
If you remember, they gave him a shot and they pulled him more than once.
Yes.
So it's a real quagmire. Opposite Quignon. But right now, okay, so here's what it looks like. Talk about a mashup. You got Adoree Jackson coming back from the concussion. We'll see if he gets cleared this week. Mac Williams, as we said the last year, does not factor in anywhere. He may not dress the rest of the season. He's just not going to contribute to the season. So opposite Mitchell, it's Jack. Well, when we say that, we got to see because Alexander's added to this. But the cornerbacks now are Quignon, Mitchell, Jaire Alexander, Ringo, Adoree Jackson, Coop if they need him to, because they have now enough corners. I didn't say they're good enough, but in bodies, they're going to have what we call, I know coaches hate doing this, because you and I have talked about this before. The coaches hate this, but they're going to have a practice competition. It's basically what the tape looks like in practice.
Right.
Alexander's new, haven't seen him. Bennett's still not on the roster. He's the last guy here. So it's Quinn. Well, the total cornerback group, left and right corners, are Mitchell, Alexander, Ringo, Jackson, Coop if you need him, and Bennett. The problem is you haven't seen Bennett. I mean, he hadn't played since week 3?
Yeah. Yeah, Rams.
So it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty. And look, the Eagles know where Bennett's at from his rehab, and he did practice before the bye. But it's you have a lot of guys, but you don't know what you have.
What's that expression? If you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. If you got 5 second cornerbacks, you don't have any second cornerbacks.
That's where they have 5. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not good, but their hope is, because that was what their hope was with Jackson and Ringo. One would emerge, and it never happened.
I was told that hope is not a strategy.
But that's what, I don't know how much confidence they had, because the reporters would agree. You were there. Reporters, like, seemingly anytime Vic talked, they kept asking about Ringo, Jackson. Okay, who's ahead? How are they doing? And he'd say, "Well, I'd like to know by a certain date." Blah blah blah. And they wouldn't know until it was obvious. Not that Jackson performed well, but Ringo was so far behind him in training camp. Is like, okay, by default, Jackson's going to start week 1.
Yep.
What else can you do? And here we are in week 10. And Alexander now has a chance, because they had to turn it. transactions always tell you, well, they're not happy with what they have, so they had to trade for Alexander, who's a dart throw.
Yeah, a dart throw extraordinaire. Carter, the word I got is that people think he's small, so he can only play the slot, which is, we know that. We've talked about that. He's not going to play outside. He's not in that mix that we just mentioned. Thank God, by the way, because who could do it? Who wants to add another cornerback to that mix of guys who are struggling to hold down that position? But he's
a well-built sort of. He's built like a safety, right? Yes. He's not. The reason why, talking to the Jets about him when they drafted him, they knew his tape showed he played safety. They didn't see him as a safety.
Right.
They thought he moved well, but he was built like he's a little bigger than Avonte Maddox. Mm-hmm. He didn't run as well as Maddox, but he was built like a safety. They moved him to nickel, dominant nickel immediately. Smart guy, picked everything up, did everything they asked, got the extension, and then the bottom fell out. And he needs a change of scenery. And I'm sure he's loving this. He's got a chance to win a Super Bowl. Man, my goodness, you've got your extension done, then you get benched, and you get traded to maybe the best team in football. Does it get much better than that? I mean, come on.
No, it's pretty good. Even Jaelan Phillips was so happy to be here. I saw he ran into our guy John Clark at the airport.
Airport.
Yeah, he was already yelling like "Go Birds" and all of that. So
did he say that?
He was pretty happy. Nice. They all are. Nice. I can see Vic playing, if he wants to, some big nickel if Carter really adapts easily into the
he hasn't done it here, but
yes, right.
Yeah, he's done it I think in Denver, but yeah, he did
do it in Denver. Right. Yeah. All right. So that's it. That's those three guys and the roles that we expect for them. Let's just finish this off real quick.
Oh, real quick. So real quick though, Carter's going to, as we noted last week, he's going to be cross-trained at safety. Now, we didn't know about the Marcus Epps injury until he went on IR. That was kind of a mystery injury. So right now, Carter, if they need him to be, it's Makuba, it's Blankenship, it's Sidney Brown, and then Carter will be the fourth safety. The backup nickel will also be Carter. I'm still, it's obvious it's practice related, and Vic's not happy with the way Williams practices because he doesn't play. He doesn't contribute at all. Right. So, even to give Coop 2 snaps off, he doesn't really dress. So,
yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's where it's at right now.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if by a few weeks into this thing, if we're talking about the safety pecking order, if Carter wasn't the number 3 safety ahead of. It would, if one of the 2 safeties got hurt, I could see Carter going in way before Sidney Brown goes in. So
Sidney Brown's averaging 7 snaps on defense a game, and part of that's in blowouts. So that tells you. Now I get it that a lot of teams like the Eagles don't take their safeties off the field for various reasons, but fact of the matter is, since VicFangio's been here, Brown has been a non-factor other than special teams. And that's the factor. That's a fact.
It is
where it's at.
It's just the facts, man.
Yep.
Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you know you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. Trade deadline. Look, the Cowboys, I think they're misguided, man. It's not that the kid's not a great player, Quinnen Williams, but they're acting like a team that was Quinnen Williams away from winning a Super Bowl to give up a first-round pick and a second-round pick. And I can't get past the idea that you traded for a guy who's already in his second contract. So you, at most, I think he's 26, 27. You're hoping for, you're probably going to get 3 to 4, maybe even 5 really good years of Quinnen Williams, which is nice. But this year's a wash. You're not making the Super Bowl this year. I know they don't think that way, but normal human beings think differently than Jerry Jones. They're not making the Super Bowl.
3-5-1.
Right. So it all starts next year. So now you're already on to 2026 with his contract and his age. And like compare that to what you expect when you draft in the first round, a mid-round pick, and the Cowboys are pretty good with their first round drafting. You're expecting 7, at least 4 years and a contract extension after 3. You want 7, 8, maybe even 9 good years out of a first round pick, which you've now sacrificed to get 3 to 5 good years out of Quinnen Williams. And then you also gave a second round pick on top of that. Like, you're the Cowboys. You have a losing record. You're 3 games behind the Eagles already. Save your assets. The smart thing to do would have been to save your assets, not to mention that your quarterback is injury prone, has a very high contract, and is not young either. Like, you might need a quarterback actually 2 years from now. Like, what are you doing?
They can't develop backup quarterbacks. Cooper Rush is completely cratered last year, and boy, the Ravens totally regret that signing. He already got benched.
They do. I know. I was surprised too. I thought he would at least keep them on schedule. He did not.
Well, he showed. I remember we had Paul Gunther on, who's now at UNLV. Paul told me, he goes, when Paul was with Mike Zimmer with the Vikings, Cooper Rush tore him apart, and then he just completely regressed. But yeah, Dallas, look, this is again, folks, when you miss on a pick, you have to cover it up with a trade. They missed badly on Mozzie Smith. What do? They traded for Kenny Clark. Hasn't been much of an impact. Then they overdo it with Quinnen Williams. That's what happened.
And then they had to trade their best player to do those trades, right? They had to trade Mike. So
Hall
it's
of
like
Fame player Michael Parsons
step
on the
forward to take a step back, and
they're just And by the way, also the other problem that other teams tell us about Dallas is they draft a lot of questionable character players that they're into the stats and into their own thing. They're talented, but when push comes to shove, they're not cohesive.
Right.
There's something. It's why can't Dallas be good again? Like why haven't they got back to the Super Bowl in nearly 30 years? There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
They draft a lot of flash and not a lot of team guys, and that's
right.
That's why the Eagles are just so much better than them.
I agree. So I know people at first thought that was a great move for Dallas, but then when I saw the competition, I said, that's a terrible move. I just don't get it. I like being aggressive. Really if you were Quinnen, if the Eagles traded a lot for Quinnen Williams or an edge rusher of like a 3, like Myles Garrett, you're like, well, now you're going to win the Super Bowl. Like,
well, that's different. This is the best. Right. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
He's still dominant 30. No one could stop him. You would get that.
Right.
Quinnen Williams, by the way, first couple of years, very immature. By year 5, he became one of their team leaders. So he grew up, he got it, he understood the responsibility.
Yep.
Phenomenal football player.
Yeah, he makes them better. There's no question about that. It's just the
other thing, Jerry Jones is so obsessed with improving the run defense. It's like run defense. I was like, dude, God, get it close.
Yeah.
Get to the
you also have a bad secondary. They also have a bad secondary, right? Exactly.
Trayvon Diggs with this odd concussion he had, and there's just some friction with the kid that they drafted from East Carolina, come back from the ACL, Ravel,
yeah.
They got to get him going. They're a total mess. Good luck, Cowboys.
There you go. All right. I actually did a little winners and losers from the trade deadline. So if you want to see how I felt I thought the Rams made a sneaky good move with McCreary. I thought the Jaguars may have been the dumbest team at the trade deadline. I got to say, like, they should have been sellers, and they're sitting there buying a slot receiver who's got 8 weeks left before he's a free agent. Like that.
Well, they're 5-3, and they were going for it.
They're not good. You know that. Their quarterback has the lowest passer rating in the NFL of all the starting quarterbacks.
But again, they don't look at it. When teams are in, like, okay, this is a wide open year. There are no dominant teams. No one's close to dominant. Yeah. Every time you want to back a team, they lose. You want to back the Lions, they lose. Want to back the Packers, they lose terribly at home.
I get that, but you can't watch the Jaguars and tell me you think that they're actually a deep.
No, they're not going. No, they're not good. But you can't tell them that.
I know. That's why I'm saying, people can't look at themselves in the mirror and have an honest conversation about who they are.
I love calling teams at the trade deadline that are like surprising. Like you're like, wow. And you ask them, hey, what are you guys going to do? You feel like you got to go for it. And they go, you know what, we're going to do. We're not going to tell you who they're going to trade for, but they'll say, yeah, we've had that talk and we're going to go for it. Yeah. And you watch what they do. And it's pretty interesting. And it's funny because their defense, Anthony Campanelli's done a great job of their defense, but they're really not good at corner.
Nope.
So what do? They trade for a receiver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes no sense to me, but either way, that is going to do it. That's good stuff. We went around the league, but yeah, like I said, on phillyvoice.com, you can read my summation of my winners and losers from the trade deadline. That's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in the Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.